Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for turning up to the latest edition of the Crypto and Cola Show. We are delighted to have your company. We're pretty quiet at the moment. Hopefully, some more will trickle in as we get going. Otherwise, it's going to be a very quiet show. But hey, I'm all for quiet. I'm all for busy, and I'm all for quiet. We cater to all audiences, so good to see you. And thanks to Edwin and Menno, and of course my co-host Solo for turning up. Right. Well, I'm going to kick off. In fact, I'm going to check in with Solo, my co-host. Solo, how are you, Squire?
Oh, I'm doing good, Peace and Money. I've been quite busy starting all my seeds for my upcoming garden this year.
Yes, I know. I've been following your blog. You do grow some fantastic and very interesting things, and I know you've been quite pleased with your crop of green, should we call it?
Yeah, my flowers are coming up very nicely on my cannabis. I can't wait for my Gorilla Glue to finish up and be ready to harvest.
Yeah, they seem to be coming on nicely. So it's for those of you that don't follow Solo, you really should try checking out his blog from time to time if you're too busy with other things. But you must try checking it out. He's into all sorts of things, and he's got this land and this beautiful green area that he cultivates all sorts of things, and gets up to a number of activities, should we say, including a fantastic drive around on electric bike that I'm very jealous of. But anyway, there we go. That's where we are. Yeah, Gorilla Glue is often. Gorilla Glue is indeed often. I see you mentioned the Gorilla Glue sometimes, Solo, in your posts. What is the significance of this Gorilla Glue?
It's honestly just strain makers just naming them really silly things. There are some absolutely ridiculous names for cannabis strains out there, and I think Gorilla Glue will really kind of catch your head and like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about a plant? Or are you talking about something that you use like to glue something together? And I had one Hive follower ask, like, "Oh, do you use this for glues?" And I'm like, "No, it's just in the name." But I mean, it is really sticky, but it's just a silly name that they give the plants.
Well, I'm pleased you clarified that actually, because this is the bit I couldn't work out. Because over here, I mean, you must have Gorilla Glue over in America as well. It is a branded glue as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. So when I see that strain name, it's funny, and I know I'm going to get some funny looks anytime I tell that person that's the name of my cannabis strain that I'm growing.
Okay, well, anyway, I'm glad your crop of cannabis is going well. I'm pleased to see that. Right, anyway, I'm gonna go and grab the weekly Bitcoin trading chart, and I'm gonna dive straight in. Just bear with me a second.
Sounds good.
Yes, I should have had that one ready, but there we go. There it is. Anyway, that's what Bitcoin has been up to in the last 7 days. Now, believe it or not, down 5% actually isn't that bad given where it was literally a few hours ago. Something has happened in the past few hours, and we're seeing this bounce with Bitcoin. It's shot back up to 82,348, as you can see there. That was about 45 minutes ago. Let me just double check. What is she doing right now? She's coming back down to 82 at the moment, but nonetheless, interesting price movements. I mean, it got down to about 76, maybe hit 75. I can't remember, but it clearly Bitcoin has struggled this past week. It done very well to sustain above the 80K level, but unfortunately, given everything I would imagine that's going on in the traditional markets with Trump's tariffs and the intensification of that and the global ramifications, in the end, I think Bitcoin can only be a hedge to a certain degree. So it's responded in the end. It has come down below 80. Now, I thought it was going to hang around under 80 for at least a month or two, but I'm delighted to see that I was wrong and it's bounced back up already. Um, and this is where things get interesting because we often speak about on this show the alignment that we see with the traditional financial markets and the crypto sector and how they are becoming more closely aligned. But don't forget, back in the day, Bitcoin was often seen as the hedge. And so if things were going tits up in the conventional markets, often you'd see the reverse, the opposite in the crypto sphere. Now, as we've said, many times before, as the years have gone on by, we now see them more aligned. So what happens in the conventional markets often impacts crypto and Bitcoin. And that's what I think has happened, especially with this new, effectively, what is a kind of new economic order with these tariffs and the global economies that are being impacted. The global economy that is basically being impacted by this new order, because the tariffs thing is a long-term venture. I see what Trump is trying to do, but my word, is it a long-term goal? But so that means there's going to be this short-term pain, and crypto can only be protected from that to a certain extent. However, what does explain in the last few hours why Bitcoin has shot up about 7%? Now, some are speculating, and I'm going to go to Solo in a minute to get his thoughts, but some are speculating that what we are seeing is the potential that if things go really bad in the traditional markets, that Bitcoin will become the hedge again. And that's why we're seeing this little bounce so far. Little at the moment, I say little, 7% is a decent bounce as far as I'm concerned. So they're saying that maybe that's why we're seeing crypto and Bitcoin doing what it used to do, and which is great. I think that's really exciting. I think that'd be fantastic if that's what we're seeing, but I'm not so sure. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I noticed Bitcoin really was falling really hard a few days ago, and at the time, I didn't know the Nasdaq, the Dow, and the S&P were also falling, and that's how I found out. I saw Bitcoin was falling, and then I quickly just checked the global markets. I'm like, oh, they're having a really bad day. So all this droppage that we see right now, this is definitely affected by the global markets. And if I saw the global markets doing neutral or good, and I saw Bitcoin dropping like this, I would be worried. But it's just following all the other markets of what they're doing right now as well.
Right, except of course what it's done in the last few hours. This increase of 7% from Bitcoin, that is certainly not reflective of what the global market is up to.
Well, if you look at the Nasdaq today, it's up 10%.
Okay, let's look at some other markets though. Take the FTSE over here, down. Take the Euro markets, down. So that might be an anomaly. I'm not so sure, but a lot of the markets are clear. A lot of the like Wall Street and over here, so I should say FTSE and all that down. That's clearly tariff related, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that definitely sounds like some patriotic USA championing going on right now. As I see the S&P is up 8%, and I also saw the Nasdaq's up 10. That's huge. You see that much, that's a lot. But we did have the huge drop, so you do see large increases at that time too. But I would expect Bitcoin to follow the tech stocks. People treat Bitcoin like a tech stock these days, and even though that's not how it should be, it's correlated in price.
Okay, okay. Interesting that we're seeing stateside some different market action actually, because lunchtime the FTSE 100 was down 3.6%, with European stock markets also continuing their sell-off. So interesting that we're seeing a different response over here in Europe anyway.
Yeah,
Um, sorry, Solo, what were you saying?
I was just saying, yeah, that is really interesting. It definitely seems like it's tariff related to me. I don't know why the Nasdaq and the S&P would be up so much, but other index stocks for Europe would be way down. I know a few days ago the Japan, the Nikkei, I believe, they had to blow the circuit breaker, which means the stock market went down so much they halted it. So I know it's been really bad out there internationally.
So this is really interesting because I didn't hear about that. You don't have to stop shouting, so, Eco. Don't worry, we're used to it. Anyway, but what is interesting with all of this is that if, as I think just saw in the chat, actually somebody put, yeah, it was Edwin's his update, stock market update. If you're seeing an increase in or a bounce, in the American markets, then are we seeing Trump's strategy pay off so early?
It could be a dead cat bounce for all we know. The markets fell so hard. You would see large run ups shortly after as well, but it could go down even harder. It could be what they call a dead cat bounce, where it falls hard and then it goes up quite a substantial amount, but then it falls all the way down.
Well, this is it. We don't know where this is all going yet. I mean, things are clearly intensifying. There's no doubt about that, especially between America and China. My word, that is getting very intense with this trade war. Other countries are trying to go down the negotiating route, which is what Trump wants. Obviously, that's what he's doing. He wants to try and negotiate a fairer deal for the states, whilst also trying to bring back manufacturing and jobs back to the US. I get what he's trying to do, but my word, is there going to be some short-term, maybe even mid-term financial pain. But the long-term strategy, given the platform he stands on and given the politics he's about, his long-term strategy with these tariffs does make sense. People may disagree with that. What he's trying to do, I can see what he's trying to do. There is logic there. How this is all going to play out, we don't know yet. And as I say, you're going to get some, even for Americans, you're going to get a lot of, I think, some financial turbulence, shall we say?
Yeah, it's very possible we'll see it on both sides of the pond, so to say.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's just, because so much is being dominated by the US fiscal policy at the moment. Let's just see how the Bitcoin dominance figures are. I checked them a minute ago. Let me just bring them in. Hang on. So if we just take a look at that for a moment, you're looking at a huge dominance by Bitcoin there. This is, I mean, at this stage of the game, Solo, what would you say that figure represents?
It shows fear. It shows people are worried about crypto, and if they're going to put their money into one crypto, it's going to be Bitcoin. We see that when there's large drops in the market, everyone sells their alts, puts it in Bitcoin, and usually moves it to cash. But other people just keep it in Bitcoin as they can't move it to cash for whatever reason, banking or identity reasons, or they just want to hold it.
So do you think that, bearing in mind all of the turbulence in the conventional markets, do you think that Bitcoin can become the hedge again?
Absolutely. Well, I would say it's definitely one of those things that you can't just print. Like it comes into play with many cash currencies around the world, where you can just print your issues out of existence. With Bitcoin, we're never going to see that. There's always going to be a set amount. And I think if we do see some kind of currency crisis, I think Bitcoin is definitely a safer harbor. It's probably comparable to gold and silver, something else that has a finite amount. And I think it's where I would probably keep my money if I was to go that route.
So if Trump's economic strategy pays off, and let's say in 12 months' time, when things might be a bit calmer, they may not be, but let's just say things do settle down a bit and we know roughly where this is going. Imagine long term this doesn't pay off though. Things may settle midterm, but imagine long term this doesn't actually pay off in the end, and Trump's strategy literally goes tits out. Hopefully, and fingers crossed, you will see Bitcoin, as I say, become the hedge again. That's not an unrealistic scenario, is it?
Definitely, if we saw large market collapse, I think many people would move it into Bitcoin. That would be a big possibility. It would be a very scary apocalyptic type of event. I'd never want to see the Nasdaq, basically drop to zero. But the money's going to move around, and I'm sure much of it would go into precious metals, some of it would go into real estate, and a lot of it would go into crypto.
Yeah, well, hopefully we could scoop up some from the catastrophic event. But I mean, given that last Thursday you saw $5 trillion, I think, wiped off, what was it, the markets or something? I mean, we are seeing significant market movements here. Quite scary. And I mean, some people are paralleling this and equating all of this with potential new depression. I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but this is what some people are saying. I mean, where do you think, given that you are American, where do you think this is all going to end up?
Well, I like to use this index called the VIX, which measures volatility of the stock markets. And it's one of those things that basically shows you on a chart when there's like gigantic price movements on the downward. So let me just link this in chat really quick, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about.
Sure.
So we can see the 2008 market crash. We can also see the COVID crash as well in those spikes. And then we see what happened just a few days ago. And I'm really not worried until we cross those lines of these previous market crashes, because the VIX is really the good way of looking at market volatility.
Oh, okay. Well, this is interesting. Right. Okay, fine. So sorry, I was coming from a crypto perspective there for a moment. So in terms of these peaks that we see, as you've just mentioned, the financial crash, 2008, the pandemic, and then what we're seeing very recently, 2025, with Trump's tariffs, clearly, that spike there, 2025, not quite as big as 2020 with the pandemic. But what does that tell you then?
It tells me it was definitely significant. What happened in the last week made the charts definitely have a spike go up on them. But until we see it go up past those 2 points for me, it's just the market reacting to the tariffs. And hopefully we'll get past all this. Hopefully the countries can smooth it out, because there's also tariffs on the U.S. It's not this the U.S. putting tariffs on everyone. The tariffs have been on the U.S. for a very long time, and maybe it's time to bring all those up and talk about those.
Oh, absolutely. This is a two-way thing, definitely, for sure. But nonetheless, 2025, that green line, that's some serious volatility, isn't it?
Absolutely. If you see, there wasn't really any big movement between 2020 and now, so that's 5 years of relatively calm markets.
So I think we're gonna have to get used to this new volatility in the traditional markets, though, because as I say, Trump's strategy is long term. How much we will see in the short and midterm, I don't know, because as I just said, we don't know where this is all going yet. But given that crypto is traditionally very volatile, we're now going to have to factor in an ongoing new volatility surrounding these tariffs and the policy around that, aren't we?
Yeah, we're definitely going to see more volatility, I'm afraid. We're not through the forest yet. There's a lot of talks that have to be done, and until we actually see more progress, I think we may see some more drops as more shocking news comes out.
Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, it's weird because I'm a bit excited as well as a bit nervous and anxious. It's a little bit strange at the moment. There's a new economic order in town, and we're only at the start of this, so I don't know where this is all going. But in terms of your comment that you just said a moment ago, Solo, about isn't just America imposing tariffs on the rest of the world, it's the rest of the world also imposing tariffs. A lot of that is in response, of course, to the new US policy. But nonetheless, and I think it's important to mention a little bit about the politics because it's so intertwined at the moment with the fiscal policy. As I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not American, but and you know what? I wouldn't mind going to Edwin if you've just got a moment, Edwin. Just wouldn't mind getting your thoughts on this because what Trump is trying to do is, as I understand it, in his mind, is level the playing field. I'm just going to go to Solo, and then I want to go to Edwin if you could spare a moment. Solo, what are your thoughts? Is that what Trump is just trying to do to make things fairer for Americans?
Yeah, I don't know the history of the tariffs. I can't make claims for what I don't know. But my understanding is there has been tariffs for a long time on the U.S., especially from China, and now they're just evening out the playing field. And now the market is in a new discovery mode, finding where it needs to be.
Okay, thank you. Edwin, can you come on mic for a moment? Are you there?
Yeah, I can step in briefly. From looking at it, it looks like he is using the tariffs as a negotiating tool to try and zero some things out. And Trump is a fan of manufacturing, so I think he is trying to spur bringing back manufacturing to the United States. This is some of his application of tariffs are new, but these are not new concepts for him. These are actually things he's talked about decades ago, if anyone actually paid attention. Now, historically there's the economy does not respond well to tariffs. So for trade and the global economy to respond well to tariffs now would almost be um, an entirely novel event, but just based on the way he tends to act, and some of that is kind of impulsively. But my guess would be he's trying to use it to drive renegotiation or to drive concessions in certain segments. And so it may be an attempt with some of our trading partners to drive things down to zero. I would be or to drive mutual tariffs down to zero. And so the end result could be increased free trade.
Okay, so just firstly to respond to the point about he's trying to use this strategy to renegotiate things. Absolutely, he is, and do you know what? He's having a fair bit of success, I have to say, because especially over here in Europe, even though today the EU has decided a package of new tariffs on American imports, nonetheless they are still trying to negotiate something. Britain is certainly trying to negotiate. So there is absolutely negotiations going on. That is what Trump is primarily trying to do. And of course, he wants a better deal for America through these negotiations. Absolutely, that's going on. But what I mean, that's going to take some time, isn't it? That's going to take a lot of time for this to settle down. I mean, China, I'm going to put to one side for a moment because clearly China is not playing ball. They are not in the mood for negotiations. They are just literally, it's tit for tat at the moment with China. So that's not going too well. But in terms of the manufacturing thing, and this is where I understand the policy more, because let's just take Apple for a moment, shall we? You know, they're a hugely successful American business. But all their phones, as I understand it, are made in China. They go to China because they're a lot cheaper to make there. Then they bring them back over here. Then they sell them for an extortionate amount of money. There really isn't anything wrong with trying to say, hey, Apple, could you not perhaps open up a few factories in America and employ some Americans and bring some jobs to your own country? You know, is there anything too wrong with that?
I don't think there's anything too wrong with it, as Mino has pointed out in the chat. Attempting to manufacture some of these products in America could increase their price by up to an order of magnitude. I don't think it would actually. I don't think it would actually cost 30,000 to manufacture an iPhone in America, but it would be substantially more expensive. But perhaps something at the heart of that is that in the West, a lot of our quality of life is sort of predicated on being able to get goods manufactured at a lower cost somewhere else, meaning someone else has to pay the price for a higher standard of living. And that's probably not an arrangement that can continue indefinitely. That sort of arrangement tends to generate a lot of ill will. But I have to jump back out. But thank you for letting me pop in, Piece of Money.
You're welcome. You're welcome, and thank you for jumping in. I'm just going to respond to Edwin's point, but I'm going to put it towards Solo because Edwin's got to go. Solo, you probably just heard all of that. I hope you did. The imagine that the Trump's strategy, which is to try and get some more manufacturing back to the States. Someone pointed out that that wouldn't work anyway. It was I think it was some guy from some financial institution I was watching on TV, and he was clearly saying, even if you do bring back some manufacturing to the US, what are you going to do with and these increased tariffs do generate that kind of outcome? What are you going to do with the tariffs then? Are you going to keep them in place at the higher amount, or are you going to bring them down? Surely you're going to have to bring them down. And he was saying, so it just won't work anyway. You can't just keep those higher tariffs in place if you've got manufacturing back to your home country anyway, so that you're going to put them down anyway, and then manufacturing is going to leave the country again. It's just going to be like a circle, but surely, Trump's strategy is, if I can increase these tariffs and bring some degree of manufacturing back to the US, should I then decide to drop those tariffs down to a more reasonable figure, and you start to see a trickle of manufacturing away from the States again, he could just quite easily put the tariffs back up again. So that would prevent that from happening, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think they're temporary. I think they're definitely a bargaining chip, as it was said in chat. And I think it's one of those things where once they see some progress across the board between all the countries, hopefully the tariffs will drop to zero, ideally. They may not, but ideally that would happen. I think Minnow wanted to come on and say something.
Yeah. I just saw that. Come on in, Menno.
Well, I wanted to say something. I think it's best to assume incompetence before we assume a 4D Tesseractian economic move, because there's a lot of mixed messages happening. And somebody could tell me, oh, no, doing it on purpose because it's part of the negotiation. But let's go back a little bit. What are the things that are being said? There's two things that are being said. One, that the tariffs are going to bring a lot of money back to the States. Why? Oh, because people are going to have to buy, so the companies are going to have to drop their prices, so all this money is going to come in. We're going to make an what do they call it? External revenue service? So we're going to make all this money. And then in the same breath, they say, oh, and then all the manufacturing is going to come back to the States. This is basically saying, I want the cake and I want to eat it too. You can't have both, because if the manufacturing comes back, where are you going to get the tariffs from? But it doesn't matter, because people tend to project whatever they want to hear. So they go like, no, I like that. It's a demagoguery. It's a political move, just to convince red meat for the people that have this idea that yesteryear was amazing. Now everything is shit. So that's one thing. Second thing, this guy, Peter Navarro, which is the guy behind this whole thing, the guy that came up with this amazing math that is hilarious, because trade deficits, that's not how it works. And elaborate a little bit on two. The guy, I'll tell you guys the story. The guy is a guy who allegedly top list, and he has
in and out. I'm afraid, dude, your mic's a bit wonky.
Oh, sorry. Is that better?
That's perfect.
Okay, so this guy Peter Navarro, yeah, he allegedly knows what he's talking about. He's an economist that from a big university and what. But the dude, okay, has written books that no other.
I'm ever so sorry. You something wrong with your mic. Do you want to jump out and jump back in again? That might sort it.
All right.
And that sucks. He was breaking up there, definitely. So
Okay.
I could barely understand him.
Oh, is that better?
You seem to be all right at the moment.
I don't know what's going on. I'm getting close to the base, so.
Nico, I feel like he's saying good stuff too, and I really want to hear it. Menno, go for it.
So this guy, the Navarro guy that I'm telling you guys about. So the dude has written books about the economy. He says he's like these economists that has been nominated for awards and what have you. but he's never been nominated to anything. That's all made up. He has this book called Death by China that he self-published, and it's on Amazon, and that's his claim to fame. And this book, right, he writes these theories about how we have to destroy China and how like it almost seems that there's a ideological hatred towards the Asians. Honestly, research what I'm telling you, so don't believe me. To go research, and he quotes this alleged master of economist named Don Vara, something like that. Ron Vara in the book a bunch of times with his theories. Now, fun fact about that is that this economist that he says that he worked out all these theories with is himself. Is an anagram of his name. And he got confronted by it. And he admitted, yeah, it's because, but he's written posts, written things, memos using that guy's name. It's himself. So that's a fun fact. Now, that guy, the guy that is the master plan, how did he land working for Trump? This is hilarious. Okay, Kushner was trying to look for somebody who had this idea with the China. Remember, Trump was always China. This idea, this hatred towards China. This idea we have to fight China.
So, Menno, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to jump in just for a moment because I've got to just push back a little bit on this hatred for China thing. Because don't forget, I'm not so sure it's too clever to use China as our factory for so much and thereby economically empowering a country that has kind of some questionable issues when it comes to, say, human rights or potential military advances, shall we say. We've got to be careful sometimes with China, and I don't think that's born out of racism.
No, but this guy, if you were to read what this guy has written, you could, it's in between the lines. But I agree with that. I agree that they have already too much power. I think China already won, honestly. Our grandkids are gonna speak Mandarin. But that's another thing. But to finish the point, Jared Kushner, right, is tasked with finding an economist for the first administration of Trump. And Jared Kushner went on Amazon, literally found this book, Death by China, and said, "Who wrote this?" Okay, and called the guy. Another fun fact about this guy was Hillary Clinton guy before. So like it just makes absolutely, that's what I'm saying. I assume ineptitude before I assume there's like a master plan. And the guy said recently too in another interview, because he said, okay, once the tariffs go down to zero, which is what we all want, right? What we all want. Then we're going to start removing tariffs from the country. He said, maybe not, because he, in his ideology in the book that I'm telling you, Death by China, of course he talks specifically about China, but he doesn't believe in free trade. So they don't want free trade, and this idea that we have to balance the trade with another country is nonsensical, and I'll tell you exactly why. And this is this simple, and then I'll shut up. Because, for example, let's say, of course, Ecuador and where the country where I live now and the U.S. have a trade deficit, of course, because there's no way Ecuador has the buying power to buy the same amount of shit that the U.S. can buy from Ecuador. There's just it's a tiny country. So if you say no, we need to balance it. What are you saying? That all the tiny countries with a GDP that is not even the equivalent of a city has to buy the same amount?
When I use the word balance,
no, I didn't mean you. I'm talking about what they say.
Okay, whatever. Whoever's, I'm going to respond on behalf of them then. So what they mean by that, Menno, is they want to, and I think my phrase I used earlier in the show was create a more balanced playing field. Now that obviously, of course, that means proportionately.
See, because you have a brain, brother. But check out maybe I'm torturing myself. Check out the MAGA mouthpieces, what they're repeating. They want it to, not proportion. That's not what they're talking about. They want that equation to go to zero.
Excuse me.
The equation, the hilarious equation I saw a second ago.
I got stuck on the it's not racism, it's because China human rights. You don't really think that Trump and his guys care about human rights, do you?
I don't, not even a little bit.
No, that was to piece of money because he said when you said racism, he said no, China is bad with human rights. The US are bad with human rights, so that's not a reason. I would go with the racism too.
No, but I can back what I'm saying. I can find you quotes of the book though. Make your head tilt like a dog, when you make a weird sound. Because that's what when I read it, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's just going with one person though, to create his entire fiscal policy. I think
No,
he's
of
got.
course not. If you ask me, and I obviously I don't know this for a fact, but if you ask me, I think Trump feels right now like he's got everybody by the balls, and that must feel good, because like everybody's calling him, it's like, Mr. Trump, please let's negotiate, and he's just getting this. His ego is just so boosted right now. That's what because
But
that's what
Menno,
I think.
look, if you're a leader of a country, you've got to do what's best for your country.
I
And
agree.
really, that's what he's
I
trying to
agree.
do.
I agree. I don't think that's what he's trying to do, but I agree with what you said first.
So this is going to be difficult, and he's going to get it from all sides. So I'm not sure this is just about ego.
Just about eco. What do you mean?
I said I don't think this is just about ego. You were saying how he thinks he's got everybody by the
Oh.
balls at the moment, and do you know what? I really don't think he's going to all this trouble just to, I don't know, have some fun or play the king or something. I think he's genuinely trying to. As I said before, I'm not going to get too much into politics, but in terms of this policy and what he's trying to do, I can understand the basic strategy here, and he's trying to do what's best for Americans. And yes, it's going to cause a huge upset. This is a reordering of an economic order that has sustained for decades and decades since the end of World War II. But just as with defense, he's trying to sort out trade that makes that creates a fairer playing field for America and Americans. And that does in the end impact on ordinary Americans. America shouldn't be subsidizing the world all the time, should it? It shouldn't be defending the world
No.
all the time, should it?
I agree with that. I'm not about interventionism. I think America should take care of its own people first. I don't think America should be spending all this money in Israel, on Ukraine, none of that stuff. I agree. Yeah, but none of that's
we're acting like all these trade policies, military policies. I mean, they were forced on the world by the US. The US is basically profiting. They don't have hard labor anymore. Everything, they don't have pollution anymore. They have really nice lives compared to the people in the sweatshops in Asia where they get their stuff from. The Americans do not want to work in sweatshops.
Well, I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of Americans who are struggling to make ends meet every day of their lives. And do you know what? Whether you're poor in Africa or poor in America, if you're poor, you're poor,
Yeah, but you don't make that better by getting low salary production back and
Okay,
making
hang on a minute. This is turning into politics, and I'm keen to avoid that. This is not what.
more expensive.
So Fairism, sorry, this is turning into politics, and I appreciate that. This is for another show. So we're just going to leave it there because we've only got an hour and we're running out of time. But thank you, Menno, for your contribution. Thank you, Fairism, for your contribution too. I'm sure we could talk about this for hours, but we are running out of time, and I must get over to Solo for his segment because I'm looking forward to this. He's been looking at all the various. Yes, Menno, we'll save it for the after show. But I'm going to go over to Solo because he's been looking at various Hive front ends, which I'm looking forward to. So Solo, over to you.
Thank you very much, Peace and Money. Yeah, today I want to talk about Hive front ends. And basically to define that is where all the raw transactional data comes in. These platforms aggregate it and make it into human viewable content. So we can see all the upvotes, we can see all the comments, we can see all the posts, we can interact with our wallets. And front ends are really key for displaying blockchain data. I'd say that's an understatement, but that's the best way I can explain front ends. You may know them from like PeakD, HiveBlog, Like2. There's many others. There's actually about 8 of them that Dolls mentioned in one of his posts. I'm going to drop it here. And I'm going to go over a couple of them today.
Okay, interesting. I didn't know there were that many front ends. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, me neither. I was thinking like, oh, I'm probably gonna have like 4 of them to talk about at best. Like, no, there's 8 or more active. Like, this is at the 2025 list. This is definitely not like, oh, something that's old. These are still active platforms. So we'll start with Peak D, as Peak D is the one I use every day, and I really like it because it has a lot of detail where you can go into a post and look at comments and or more specifically seeing like post votes and seeing what the curation rewards are and what time it happened at compared to the next few that you may notice at least one of them is very lacking in these details. The others have done good, but I really like Peak D how it has a lot of details when you go into the stats or you go into looking at people's posts where it shows the view count, and it also shows reblogs and a lot of really good details. So I'm going to drop what you can kind of see when it comes to like a vote list. So this is like this is one of mine actually. So you can see with all the values, it tells you the time of day, or how long ago it was when the post was made, what the percentage is, their reputation. There's a lot of data that can be displayed on these pages here. Here's what the trending page looks like. Oh, it didn't like that. Let me try to copy it in differently here. But I'm going to show examples of the trending and hot page from each of them so you can kind of see what the layout looks like for what all these posts are doing here.
Do you know, I must admit, out of all of the interfaces to get into to access the Hive blockchain, I have to totally agree and say that the one that you know you're looking at the moment, the one that I use all the time, Peak D, is absolutely a very comprehensive, very smooth to navigate front end for sure.
Absolutely, and I highly recommend it. There is a slight learning curve when it comes to logging into it. I've had people mention that they can't figure out how to log into Peak D because I think it gives you so many options. I personally like to use Hive Keychain to log into it, but Hive Signer works fine too. And it's
I use the pin number one solo. Do you know that one?
I'm sorry, which one?
I use Peak Lock, I think it's called. I use the pin number, which I think is brilliant.
Oh, I've seen that. I actually never really got into it. I just stuck with what we've had for a long time, which was Hive Signer at the time. But then shortly after, Hive Keychain came out by StudDev, I think runs that project.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There are various ways to go in, but Peak Lock for me is the easiest. But yeah, cool. Carry on.
All right, I'm gonna go to the next front end here. So this one is Hive Blog, and it's very minimal. It's a minimalistic front end, is the way I describe it. They just have the most important features, and they know if you want more, well, you can go to another front end to find it. So, for example, we have if you look at like what a post rewards looks like, it's very basic. They just have the username, the payout. Compared to what we just saw previously, very contrasting. There's a lot more details that's built into the Peak D system compared to what Hive Blog is running. But Hive Blog is great because sometimes Peak D breaks and I have to use Hive Blog. So I'm thankful it's around, and it was basically it's a fork from when we were on Steam, and I think it's one of those things that's stuck around for a long time and it's super useful.
Oh man, I remember that front end. It absolutely takes me back to Steam days for sure.
Yeah, so it's great, and it's where just about everyone starts. I think it's where the best place if you don't want to be overloaded by information. And yeah, we're actually going to talk about eSency next. And if I pronounce that wrong, let me know. I think it's eSency.
Do you know what? I've never known how to pronounce it properly. I assume it's eSency, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So I'm going to talk about this one next here. Just dropping a picture in the chat of the actual account there, and
Thanks
we'll
for
take a look at the front end. Sorry, again, my it's trying to paste in the file extension and not the actual drag and drop. I think Ubuntu sometimes doesn't like Discord. There we go. So that's what trending looks like when it comes to ecency. Oh, decency. Yeah, there we go. So it's definitely ecency, I think. So this is the front end, and you can see what their basically the front page looks like. And it's very similar to others, but they have a really interesting reward system. And it's something where the more you interact on the community, the more you're going to be getting rewarded, either for reblogs or upvotes or comments or anything that you're really doing activity wise on Hive. You can earn points. And let me kind of drop that in there so you can see what that looks like. So there's basically rewards for any kind of action on Hive, which is really interesting. And these points can be then, and you can then use those to boost your account by getting a delegation from ecency.
That's a really clever way of incentivizing the use of that front end, isn't it? I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time. They've gone through a lot of phases. You used to be able to call down the ecency account to vote on your posts, but now about a year or so ago, it looks like they changed it to where they will delegate to you for a fixed amount of times in exchange for your points.
Okay, so Kasim says he once had 100k ecency points. Kasim, what did that give you? Can you just tell us what it actually gave you in practice?
It would get you upvotes, basically.
Gave a lot of boosts to others when it was a thing. Okay, what kind of boosts? Is it upvotes? I thought it was delegations or something. I don't. Oh, he's not in the chat.
Now it's delegations.
Sorry, he's not in the chat. My mistake. Is he in the chat? No, he's not. He's sorry. He's in the chat. He's not in the voice. He can't hear me. Sorry, Solo. Carry on.
Well, I'm just saying it used to be upvotes, but now it's delegations.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, I'm gonna drop in what it looks like for their for when you see post rewards. You can see it's a similar setup to like Peak D. There's a lot of good information here. I'm gonna copy it in chat. So it's definitely a nice interface if you want to be having a good amount of information presented to you. It's definitely not as minimal as Hiveblog. I would not say it's as intensive as Peak D, so it's like a happy medium in between. But it's one of the best things is going to be the point system, where the more you interact using their app, the more you're rewarded.
Okay, and which one's that?
Ecency.
Oh, you're still on ecency. Sorry, I thought you moved on. Yeah. Okay, cool.
It's still ecency, yeah. Okay, and I have one more to cover, and then I have some final stats to show on that basically compares all of them. So the last one I want to talk about is Like2. This is ran by El Merlin. He's a whale on Hive, and he built a community around. I think it's basically short form content. I think it's like one picture and a few lines. So it's like the idea. It's like similar to Dbuzz, but it's not like limited to $1 as far as I know. So let me try to drop this into chat here. I have the trending page I'm going to copy. So we can see it has a similar graphical layout for trending. It shows you the common amount. It shows you how many votes and what the current payout is. So it's definitely on the smaller side of the other front ends. I'm not sure how active it is compared to it was in previous years. I know they've been around for a while. Yeah, I think it might be kind of like the Instagram for Hive. That would sound like a pretty good comparison. But now they have like snaps and threads and things. So I feel like it's kind of like in competition with that in a way.
Menno's opening his foot modeling account. Well, I'm sure you're going to get some engagement there, Menno. Probably will actually. But Solo, this I haven't heard of. Like, in fact, I have heard of it, but in terms of engagement and user engagement, do you know what the numbers are? Because, like you said, it's not that more. It's not the more well known one, is it?
Oh, I actually just dropped in the chat. You can see the stats, and I don't even see like two on that list. I'm not sure if they couldn't access the API or what it was, but we can see these other ones here comparing each other to how many monthly users they have.
Oh, this is interesting. So can we figure out from this chart you've just put up, what is the overall aggregate monthly users on Hive or not?
I guess, yeah, I guess if you added all those up, it would probably give you an interesting figure, but there would be overlap because some people will use two different platforms here. Some people might use Agency and Hive Blog.
Yeah, this is what I was trying to work out, whether we could just do a direct translation here, but perhaps not. But okay.
Yeah, so that was just a couple of front ends I wanted to show for today. It was definitely interesting looking into them. I learned about the ecency points, and I claimed mine, so I actually should have a delegation for quite a long time based on my points that I've collected. And I'm looking forward to playing around with the platform. I installed the app on my phone, and I'm going to try it out a little bit more.
Oh, well, do you know what? Ecency sounds quite exciting, but have we not got? Can we not drill down a little bit on the actual figures? You say you should hopefully get a delegation, but what are we talking about here in terms of points to delegation ratio? What are we looking at? Do you know roughly or not?
Yeah, it's a 200 HP delegation, and I think it requires 17,000 points to get that. I have about 250,000 points. I guess I got them a long time ago and I never claimed them, but I'm going to be putting them to use now.
Blimey, I would claim that if I were you. Cash in on that. And so to build, to accrue those points, it is simply through the blogging aspect of the blockchain. Yeah.
It is now. A few years ago, when you delegated, you could earn points as well. And I delegated about 3 to 4 years ago, and I can see that's when I got the majority of my points that I just claimed today.
Nice. So have you seen what your actual delegation figure is yet or not?
Yeah, it's about 200 HP.
No. You said that's what for the 250,000 points you've got.
Well, no, I can only use 17,000 points at a time. They don't let me spend more. So I calculated it's going to take me about 4 years to use up all my points.
Oh, okay. So they cap it, do they? Oh, okay. I understand. All right. Fair enough. Well, enjoy that. Okay, awesome. That was very interesting. Anything else to say on that, Solo? Or are you wrapping up?
No, that's it. I've enjoyed talking about the front ends. There was more of them I didn't even cover. I only covered maybe half of them at best, so I could always come back and discuss more of them in the future.
Yeah, awesome. No, that's great. Learned some interesting stuff there. Thank you for that, Solo. Ecency is, yeah, you've opened my eyes there to Ecency. So interesting stuff. Right, we've got a few more minutes before I wrap up. I'm going to end on a kind of positive, but I am just before we go to that positive. Just want to talk about part of the conversation I saw yesterday happening in this channel, in this server, in relation to this whole debate surrounding delegation for votes and tokens for votes, which is a bit of a grey area, should we say, on the Hive blockchain. I happened to as I say, I was privy to a little bit of the conversation that was going on, not all of it. It got a bit heated at one point. It's clearly quite a thought-provoking subject, shall we say. Lots of people have their own views on this. I just wanted to know if anybody who was in that show, who's here today in this show, was there any kind of consensus reached? Was there any outcome? Does anybody know? I mean, are these delegation for votes and tokens for votes staying, or are they going? Because even HBI was getting a lot of flack. So was there any outcome? Does anybody know?
I believe they're looking into using multi-sig to secure the wallets, so there's no concern of rug pulls if like HSBI was to leave. But I'm not sure if they've implemented that. But there was a lot of talks about it.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm getting some comments there from Irvin and from Eco. Nothing solidly decided, it seems, from what I can tell. And in between details.
But I think some other groups are also redoing it. Like Brocoin is now redoing how they're going to be rewarding people that hold Bro tokens. So it's going to be interesting to see. There was just one community that was basically asked to stop this, but now a bunch of other communities are stepping in and also stopping on their own.
Okay, all right. It was interesting that became a debate. I didn't know if there was something that had triggered that, or if there was something, I don't know, something had happened. But okay, well, I'll just keep an eye on things regarding that. Also, Solo or Eco, in terms of the show schedules, is there is there two shows now on a Tuesday? Is there the Jabber Talkie show and the Hive Thrive Community Hour? Is that right? Is there two shows? Oh, Jabber is random. Okay, fine. So Jabber's just as and when, but the Hive Thrive is still weekly, I think. What I'm getting there. I was a bit confused, and some other people I spoke to were only two shows are fixed, Hive Thrive and Crypto and Coda. Okay, fine. So Jabber Talkie, which I think is a great name, by the way, that's going to be as and when. Okay, fine. Awesome. Right. So almost coming to the end of the show. I just want to share a little secret with you. I'm probably being a bit naughty doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. As you know, each month we give out a 10,000 HB delegation, and the winner of that delegation gets to keep it for the month. We've been doing that for a while now, thanks to Guilty Parties, who's donated that to the show. And don't tell anybody this. Just keep it to yourselves. I have actually asked Guilty Parties if we could just increase that delegation. I'm not going to give you any figures. Yes, just keep it to yourself for the moment, Nico. I've asked if we can increase that because I think that would be a really nice thing to do for the community. So fingers crossed, fingers crossed. We'll have to wait and see what goes there. Maybe I should have done this, maybe I shouldn't. I don't care. Come on. I want to share with you my efforts. I'm just trying to get something better for the community. And we'll see how it goes. It may be a no, by the way, so don't be too surprised if it is. But do you know what? You never know. If you don't ask, you don't get. So let's just see where it goes. But anyway, I thought I'd just share that with you because it would be nice to say we could, increase that, especially as the price of Hive has taken a bit of a dip. And do you know what? We didn't even get onto the price of Hive, but do you know what? As it's taken a dip, maybe we don't need to talk about it, Solo. What do you reckon?
Yeah, the 10,000's already great. That's two dolphins right there. When I started on Steam, two dolphins was a crap load of money. Like what, at least 50,000, maybe $100,000.
Absolutely, my word! I would have been delighted with a 5K delegation back on Steam in the day. Yeah, for sure. But as
Yeah,
we
so
know,
that's a lot of money.
yes, it was, and it still could be. Fingers crossed, eh? I don't know if you want to get into forecasting altcoin season, but maybe we shouldn't be doing that at this stage.
Well, we're gonna have to wait for Bitcoin to get over 100K again.
Oh, for sure, and then some, and then some. But anyway, out season starts in May, does it, Menno? Well, there's someone who's optimistic. I admire your optimism. Fingers crossed, eh? Rightio. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. And thank you to everybody who's turned up. It's good to see you all. Nice big turnout again. So thank you to everybody who came along. Good to see you all. And thank you to my co-host Solo, as always, who does a fantastic job. And I'm delighted he is the co-host for this show. Solo, anything you want to say before we finish?
No, this has been another great discussion you've had. It's always great to kind of talk about what's going on with Bitcoin in the current week and going on a little bits about Hive as I gather information to bring to y'all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, your segments are great because I learn stuff, and I'm sure other people must do. And Hive is this constantly evolving platform. There is always something to look at. Let's be honest, isn't there?
Absolutely. There's always something going on, so I'm always looking forward to the next show.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Well, there we go. That wraps it up again, guys, for another week. Thank you to everybody who came along. Good to see you, and hopefully we'll see you again next week. But until then, take care.